difficulty, part of it is that people get a lot of different information. And one day they read the newspaper and it's do this diet and take this herb. And the next day they read the newspaper and it's do this diet and take that herb. So there's a lot of misinformation. The other is people need support. Most people need support to make change. And if we don't have programs that people can get the support that they need, and these programs should be community based, where they can go and learn how to cook with kale or learn how to cook with beans or lentils and come together with other people that are doing this. It's very hard if you don't have that skill set, and then if you go home, you need the support of your spouse, right? You can't have someone's having a steak and you're having something else. It becomes very hard in reality. And then we also have to recognize that people are addicted. The food industry has addicted us to sugar. The food industry has addicted us to salt. So people crave these things. And we need to work through that. And usually it takes about 2 weeks for people to give up their sugar cravings, give up their change their salt in their diet, and so on. Fat tastes good, right?
Sugar
So
tastes good.
sugar tastes good, and I always
Don't-
say chocolate is vegetarian. So, but but
Yeah,
you
I
can
guess
see what
there's
I mean, right?
yeah, totally. And actually, I just had somebody in the summit that was very much into the raw chocolate, how healthy it is, you know?
Uh-huh. And it is small amounts of
S-
dark
I
chocolate.
think that's the secret, small
Right?
amounts.
That's the secret. We've supersized everything, right? So, when grandma made a cookie, she made a cookie that was this big, it was tiny, and it was okay if it had a little bit of sugar and butter in but it didn't have trans fats, it didn't have partially hydrogenated oils, and now we make a cookie that's 10 times the size and it's filled with chemicals. And
Yeah,
that's where we've gotten into trouble.
yeah, and I never forget when I first like kind of did it, a change in my diet, and I removed all the sugar. Just I thought I would try it for 3, 4, 5 days, right? And then the next time when I had some sugar, it was like, oh my God, is that sweet? Oh my God, I couldn't take it anymore. And the same with salt, and I kind of agree. It takes some time to really make that change within ourselves. And our taste buds are so used to all the chemicals and all the little sweet corn syrup additives.
Right, that's exactly. And many people can relate to milk. For example, if you go from whole fat milk to 2% milk to 1% milk to fat-free milk, if people make that transition and then they go back to whole milk, they recognize right away, wow, that tastes like cream. So you change your taste buds. But it's not all about food, you know that. This is just a piece of it.
Well, actually, I was about to ask you. So food is obviously a very important aspect. But let me ask you about another thing. So, because food is such a powerful, whenever I talk with somebody about food, they have their own opinions. It's like, as you said,
Right.
it's often very hard to show them the benefits. So, the more you change towards the, healthy carbs, healthy proteins, the more changes you're going to see in your body.
So I think the most important thing in the nutrition program, the first step, is elimination of simple carbohydrates and sugar. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it's totally doable. So first thing I would advise people to do is learn about the glycemic index or the glycemic load, which basically is if I eat a particular food, does it increase my blood sugar quickly and therefore increase my insulin level, which ultimately leads to weight gain and inflammation? So, the first thing we can do very simply is say, we're not going to eat anything white. We're not going to have white rice. We're not going to have white bread. We're going to go whole grain. So bread that can't be rolled into a little ball, for example. That's the way I teach it to my patients. Steel cut oats, not instant oats. People don't realize there's a difference in the processing between steel cut oatmeal and instant oatmeal. And instant oatmeal, for example, goes right into the bloodstream like sugar. Berries, fruits that are low in sugar, like apples, peaches, blueberries and raspberries, much lower in sugar than fruits like dates and raisins and watermelon, for example. So we really should start to look at how do we change our nutrition. That's the first step with the glycemic index. That's easy. I think anyone can do that. And then we start to work on the proteins and start to phase in more legumes, more beans, more non-GMO organic tofu, if you can get it, if you're lucky enough to get it,
Well, but
and so
I've
on.
heard there's a big shift in the US finally after California last year didn't approve it, which I was like, oh my God, how could that happen? Because for example, Europe, there's districts where there's absolutely no GMO food. They just don't want it. So hopefully it's going to happen in the US. At least they have to label it.
Absolutely. We just had a big law pass in Hawaii, where literally the whole island of Kauai stood up against GMOs and essentially threw out the companies related to GMOs.
Love it.
Yes, and you're right. How this could not have passed in California is just enough to make me want to cry because I live here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And knowing that what like 80% of the corn syrup, the soy, all is GMO infected, as I might say, it's just really time something changes there. But anyways, go on. Sorry for.
Absolutely. So I think that if we start with encouraging people to eat more whole grains, lots of green leafy vegetables, uh, I encourage my patients to go to the website called EWG, the Environmental Working Group, and just monitor periodically which vegetables you really should be buying organic and which ones are okay to buy non-organic. For example, we have the Dirty Dozen on the website, which is you really should buy those foods organic because they're very high in pesticides and herbicides. And the Clean 15, which are the ones that you can probably not buy organic. You could probably get away with that just because for some people, organic, depending on where you live, can be more money. And of course, if you can grow your own, that's the best thing that
That's
you
the
could do.
ideal situation.
Exactly. Exactly. And I just want to add that the reason that's important is when we look today at obesity in the United States, it seems to be related. The highest levels of obesity are related to high level of pesticide and herbicide use in the soil. And pesticides, persistent organic pollutants, have been linked to diabetes. So we have to link the health of the planet in as well. And we also have to factor in, maybe not as big an issue in Europe, uh, but certainly in the US, when people buy things like steak, many of those products are coming from an animal CAFOS, from an animal farm where the poor animals are squeezed in together. Those animals get 71% of the antibiotics made for the entire North America. So they get antibiotics, they get growth hormone, and those aren't cows that are grazing on grass like in the old days.
Yeah,
Those animals, right, are eating corn. We're going back to your corn.
yeah,
So the
yeah.
quality of the meat is totally different. And this is why I think we have a lot of the big issues with the meat, at least in the US. It's what did the animal eat? And that's the key question.